Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a historical detective? You know, you find a single name in some dusty, century-old document, and suddenly you're on a mission. Could that one little clue unlock a whole forgotten life story? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. Let's find out.
So the big question is, how do you actually do it? How do you take a name that's basically been lost to time and bring the person behind it back to life? It's kind of like a puzzle, right? And today, we're going to start putting the pieces together.
Okay, so every single investigation has a starting point. And for us, it's this: a single name on a single list from all the way back in 1922. This is our ground zero. It's the one thread we're going to pull to see what unravels.
All right, first things first. Let's look at a really specific detail found right next to that name, a title. And as you're about to see, this little title tells us a ton about his status and the world he lived in.
So the title is Rao Bahadur. Now, this wasn't just some fancy prefix you add to a name. No way. It was a seriously significant honor given out by the British administration in India. If you had this title, it meant you were a respected leader, someone who had made some outstanding contributions to your community. It was a real mark of public trust and prestige.
And as you can see here, this title wasn't just a one-off thing. It was part of this bigger, really structured system of honors. So alongside Rao Bahadur, you had these comparable titles like Khan Bahadur and Dewan Bahadur. Each one was meant to recognize distinguished people in different communities.
So what does that tell us?
It tells us we're looking at a pretty important figure in the civic life of his time.
Okay, so we get the title, right? We understand what Rao Bahadur means. Now let's zoom in from the honor to the actual person. Who was the man in the records?
And here it is, the exact entry, pulled right from the combined civil list for India. M.R. Rai Rao Bahadur Kovalamudi Gopala Krismaya Garu. Wow. Just look at that formal styling, the specific spelling. This is our primary piece of evidence. It's what makes a man from 100 years ago suddenly feel tangible, real. So just from that single line, we can lock in some absolutely crucial facts. We've got his full name, Kovalamudi Gopala Krishnaya. We've got his confirmed honor, Rao Bahadur, awarded in 1922. And we have his location, the Guntur Krishna district in what was then the Madras Presidency of British India. See, the picture is already starting to come into focus. But here's the thing. A person's story is never just about them, right? Especially back then. Your social connections, your family, that was everything. And as we're about to see, his family created this really powerful web of influence.
Just take a look at this. This table shows us exactly how that influence was built and maintained. We see two of his siblings, Tulasama and Annapurnama, marrying into other major families in the area. Now, these weren't just personal unions. They were basically strategic alliances. Marriages like these strengthen the family's social and political network, really cementing their place among the local elite. So, let's recap. We've got a title, a name, a location, and this whole family network. But how do we actually know all of this? This is where we get into the nitty-gritty of being a historian, piecing together all these scattered clues from a bunch of different sources.
You see, a historical story isn't built on just one document. That's not how it works. It's constructed by weaving together all these different kinds of evidence. So we have our primary sources, right? The direct accounts, like that civil list you saw earlier. Then we have supplementary history books that mention him. And we even have secondary sources, like genealogy websites, which can give us some great clues, though you always have to double-check those. Every single source adds another layer to the story.
But, and this is a big but, historical investigation is rarely about finding every single answer. The records are often incomplete. For instance, we still don't have a confirmed birth year for him. And you know what? That's okay. These gaps, these missing pieces, they're part of the mystery. They remind us that we're looking at echoes of the past, not a perfect photograph.
And that brings us to a really crucial point. History isn't some finished book sitting on a shelf. It's an ongoing investigation. The story doesn't just end because we've hit a few dead ends. Nope. The search continues.
I mean, this is not a cold case by any means. In fact, if you look at this list on the screen, you can see a clear, actionable plan for what's next. A researcher would now probably head to the British Library archives, start digging into local district records, and, this is the really cool part you see in step 3, try to find living descendants to collect oral histories and maybe even old photos. The investigation is still very, very much alive.
You know, seeing this whole process unfold, from one single name on a list to a life starting to take shape, it's just a powerful reminder of all the stories hidden in our past. And that really brings us to a final question for you. What names are waiting in your family's documents? What stories does your own history hold, just waiting for you to uncover them?